After my girlfriend went on a business trip with her boss, she, who usually stayed up late, went to bed early today. But in the middle of the night, I suddenly received a message from her. "Honey, I miss you." 10 minutes later, she messaged me again. "Hubby, I love you very much." I laughed and sent a message to her boss. "She has HPV, you know that, don't you?" It was 1 in the morning and my phone screen was still blinking. There are already 99 plus unread messages, including explanations, anger, threats, and more scolding me. But I don't have time to watch it at all because I'm very busy. The house is full of Jiang Wanqing's things, and it will take some time to get rid of them all. I was busy until 3 in the morning before I threw all her things into the trash. Only then did I remember to reply to her, "Stupid." She sent more messages. I blocked her and had a rare good night's sleep. Unfortunately, before daybreak, I was awakened by heavy knocks on the door. Then came Jiang Wanqing's sharp voice. "Xiao Yan. Open the door for me." I got up helplessly. Last night I was only thinking about throwing her things away, but I forgot to change the password of the door lock. Fortunately, I locked the door of the master bedroom, otherwise Jiang Wanqing would not just knock on the door. "Jiang Wanqing, are you sick? It's only 6 o'clock now." When they heard my voice, the knocking stopped abruptly. Jiang Wanqing stood outside the door in shock, unable to believe that I would speak to her in such an impatient tone. If it were in the past, I would definitely be timid and explain it to her carefully, afraid that Jiang Wanqing would be angry. But now, I just want her to get the hell out of here. Unfortunately, Jiang Wanqing's astonishment did not last long. The next second, the knocking on the door became stronger. "Xiao Yan. You are so rebellious. How dare you talk to me in such a tone?" The sharp sound made me frown. I always felt that Jiang Wanqing was very gentle, and she was so cute even when she was angry. Looking back now, she seems like a shrew. I couldn't help it, so I got up and opened the door. Before I could say anything, her finger was almost poking the tip of my nose. "Xiao Yan, why do you touch my things?" I knew she had seen me throw all her stuff into the trash. I looked at her calmly, and then I realized that the clothes she wore were completely different from what she wore before the business trip, and it was obvious that she had just changed. And it was clothes I had never seen before. Perhaps it was because my gaze was scrutinizing him, or perhaps it was because I did not answer in time. Jiang Wanqing got angry again. "Xiao Yan, you need to give me an explanation. Do you know how embarrassed I am by that news? We are a couple. I'm just on a business trip with my boss for a few days. Don't you trust me?" I leaned against the wall and could faintly smell her cologne, a men's perfume I had never used before, and the smell made me feel nauseous. But I was too lazy to confront her. "Of course I believe you." The hand that was pointing at my nose suddenly froze, and a smile appeared on her face. "Then go and explain it to Mr. He." I looked at her in surprise, but soon understood. After all, I was like this in the past. Whenever we had a quarrel, I was the first to admit my fault. Even if she was wrong, I would try my best to coax her. Now it seems that I was a joke. I took out my phone and opened Mr. He's chat box in front of her. "Okay, I'll help you explain. Mr. He, I sent the wrong message yesterday. Jiang Wanqing doesn't have HPV." Jiang Wanqing was visibly happy and patted her chest as if she was relieved. "I just find it ridiculous. It's ridiculous that I ever fell in love with her. She has HIV." After sending the last sentence, I closed the chat box directly. Jiang Wanqing's smile froze, and the next moment she grabbed my arm viciously. "Xiao Yan, are you sick?" I looked at her calmly. "Yes, I am indeed sick, that's why I liked you in the past." "Jiang Wanqing, be decent and break up." She paused, realizing that I seemed to have really discovered something, and explained in a panic. Xiao, it's not what you think. I am doing this for our future family. If I please Mr. He now, I will be able to get promoted and make money in the future. Now Mr. He thinks I have HPV and is deliberately staying away from me. I will have no chance of promotion in the future. Xiao, please explain to Mr. He. I am doing this for our family." I smiled, and there was no warmth in my eyes anymore. "For the family?" She called it for our future home. It's the first time I've heard someone describe cheating in such a refreshing and refined way. Jiang Wanqing, do you really have to make it so clear to me? I pointed at the unfamiliar clothes she was wearing. The deep V neckline allowed you to vaguely see the underwear underneath. But she even changed her private clothes. Then explain to me why you even changed your underwear. She was speechless for a moment, her eyes flickered, and finally she became angry and said, "Do you have to be so fussy? Most men just play around, so what's wrong with women using a little bit of trickery?" I was speechless and turned to go back to the bedroom, but she became even angrier. "Xiao Yan. Come back here. I'm telling you, you must apologize to me right now, or I will break up with you." I was too lazy to even stop, "Then let's break up." Her expression changed again and again, and finally she pointed outside the door, "You said this. Xiao Yan, get out of here." I turned around and looked at her like she was a fool. If I remember correctly, this seems to be my home. Jiang Wanqing slammed the door and left in anger. Before she left, she turned back and glared at me, gritting her teeth and saying, "Xiao Yan, just wait for me. Even if you beg me on your knees, I will not forgive you." I stood at the door, looking at her angry back, and my heart was surprisingly calm. Closing the door, I took a deep breath and looked around. This home, which was once filled with all kinds of cosmetics, clothes, and sundries, has finally returned to its original neatness. I could even smell the lingering scent of perfume in the air, but soon, I opened the window and let the night breeze completely blow away her scent. The next day, I went to work as usual. Everything was normal in the company, my colleagues were still busy, and no one noticed that I had just experienced an emotional earthquake. I sat at my workstation, the sound of my fingers tapping on the keyboard was regular and calm, as if everything that happened last night had never happened. But I know that some things have changed drastically. I used my free time to delete all the information about her from my phone. When I got home at night, my phone started vibrating like crazy. Jiang Wanqing's messages popped up one after another. "Xiao Yan, what do you mean? Why did you delete all your moments? Are you crazy? We haven't broken up yet. Say something. Why are you pretending to be dead?" Once upon a time, my circle of friends was full of content about her, while her circle of friends was clean and there was never any mention of me. At that time, she used the reason that it was inconvenient for work, and I didn't think much about it. Now that I understand, I don't care anymore. I glanced at her message and swiped away the notification without replying. However, her phone rang right after. I hesitated for a second, but still picked up the phone. "Xiao Yan. What on earth do you want to do?" Her voice was sharp and piercing, with obvious anger and a hint of panic. I was silent for 2 seconds, then said calmly, "As you can see, I am cleaning up the past." She choked, as if she didn't expect me to be so calm. I was too lazy to listen to her rant and just hung up the phone. Somehow, I always feel a little blocked in my heart. After all, we have been in love for 3 years, how can I let it go completely? But when I passed a restaurant, I stopped. Through the huge floor-to-ceiling window, I actually saw Jiang Wanqing. At that moment, she had just put down her mobile phone, turned around and took the arm of Mr. He, who was in his 50s, with a sweet smile and an intimate gesture. That was a tenderness that had never appeared before me. I stared at them for a few seconds and suddenly laughed. Just then, the phone rang again. It turned out to be an old friend, Gu Yutong, whom I hadn't contacted for a long time. "Hello." I picked up the phone. "Xiao Yan, where are you?" Her voice was as calm as ever, with a hint of concern. "On my way home." I continued walking forward without looking at Jiang Wanqing again. "I heard, you broke up with Jiang Wanqing." She hesitated for a moment, but still asked. I chuckled, the news spread so quickly. "No." She paused, "I just saw Jiang Wanqing and Mr. He together." I was stunned for a moment, turned around and looked around, then I saw a familiar figure. I hung up the phone and quietly came up behind her like a prank. At this moment, Gu Yutong was stamping her feet fiercely. "Stinky Xiao Yan, bad Xiao Yan, you just mentioned Jiang Wanqing, and you dared to hang up on me, you dead licker. Who is calling me a dog licker?" Gu Yutong was so frightened that her whole body trembled. When she turned around, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. "Oh, isn't this our great talent, Cheng? What a coincidence. Stop teasing me." I responded with a smile, and pointed to the side. "Let's talk while walking." Gu Yutong nodded and followed me, but couldn't help looking back. In that high-end restaurant, Jiang Wanqing was almost lying in Mr. He's arms. I looked at Gu Yutong, hesitant to speak, and took the initiative to say, "It's okay, I've let it go." Gu Yutong finally breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at me again. "Then, do you still remember our previous agreement?" I raised my eyebrows. "What agreement?" "Wei Yuan Group's project." Her voice was filled with anticipation. "We have reached a bottleneck. If you are willing to come back." I closed my eyes, and my mind emerged with the image of myself full of vigor and vitality on the campuses of Peking University and Tsinghua University, and the days when I stayed up late with Gu Yutong to write proposals. Thinking back to the opportunity one gave up because Jiang Wanqing wanted to go back home. Now, I am finally awake. Okay. I opened my eyes and said firmly, "I'll go back. This time, I want to live for myself." At 3 o'clock in the morning, Jiang Wanqing's high heels made a messy noise in the corridor. She came to my apartment door drunk, but when she tried to unlock it with her fingerprint, it said her fingerprint was incorrect several times. "Change password." "Xiao Yan, you bastard." She raised her middle finger to the surveillance camera, knocked on the door for a long time, and finally left cursing. The next morning, Tao Chushue woke up in a daze and subconsciously dialed the phone. After the call was connected, she said with a little impatience, "Xiao Yan, hurry up and make me some stomach-nourishing porridge. As usual, don't make it too sweet." "Are you sick?" I cursed at the other end of the phone and hung up. Jiang Wanqing heard the busy tone coming from the phone and stared at the screen in a daze, her fingertips trembling slightly. In the past, when she got drunk, Xiao Yan would always prepare stomach-nourishing porridge for her first and would take care of her tirelessly. But now, all that was left on the other end of the line was a cold "you're sick" and a decisive hang-up. Her eyes were sore and her fingers were rapidly tapping on the dialogue box. "Xiao Yan, don't go too far. I drank so much last night, and you just ignored me. You clearly..." Before the message was sent, a glaring prompt suddenly popped up on the screen. "The other party has turned on friend verification, you are not his friend yet. How dare you delete me?" Jiang Wanqing stood up suddenly, and most of her sleepiness disappeared in an instant. There was panic in her eyes and she kept clicking the send button, but all her messages fell on deaf ears. She bit her lip and dialed the number, but heard, "The number you dialed is busy. Just now, I blocked her number." Jiang Wanqing's expression turned ugly. "Playing hard to get. Very good, you succeeded this time." She walked out of the hotel angrily, but happened to meet a strange woman. The other person was wearing a neat suit, with his long hair tied up. His eyes glanced indifferently at her messy hair and red and swollen eyes. "You are..." Jiang Wanqing subconsciously pulled her collar closer. "Gu Yutong." The woman walked straight towards her, as if declaring her sovereignty. "You are not worthy of Xiao Yan, so don't harass him any more in the future." "Who do you think you are?" Jiang Wanqing's voice suddenly rose. "It is not the place for outsiders to meddle in our affairs." Gu Yutong chuckled and looked down at her watch. "Miss Tao, you two are no longer related. I hope you know your place. By the way, Xiao Yan will leave the city in 3 hours." She paused. "Come with me." Jiang Wanqing felt as if struck by lightning, digging her nails deep into her palms. "Impossible. How could he go with you? I'm still here." In the past, I would appear wherever she was. As long as I could be with her, it was as if I owned the whole world. And now? Gu Yutong smiled, said nothing more, and turned and left. 3 hours later, when Gu Yutong and I entered the ticket gate, Jiang Wanqing finally stumbled into the airport. "Xiao Yan. I won't let you leave." She ran towards me anxiously, and because she was wearing high heels, she even fell several times, but she did not give up. That look makes people feel pity. Gu Yutong looked at me. "It's not too late to regret now." I shook my head, my heart no longer stirred. "Let's go." The moment I turned around, Jiang Wanqing rushed over like crazy. Jiang Wanqing grabbed my arm, her eyes full of pleading. Xiao Xiao, don't go. I frowned and shook it off. Ma'am, please respect yourself. I have a mysophobia. Hearing this, Jiang Wanqing's face turned extremely ugly. Just as she was about to speak, she was stopped by the security guard. Xiao Xiao, you can't escape. Just wait. I didn't look back and walked into the ticket gate holding Gu Yutong's hand. 1 month later. The spotlights formed a network at the press conference, and I stood in front of the Wei Yuan Group logo and talked freely. The data curve refreshed in real time on the big screen drew applause, and Gu Yutong gave me a thumbs up from the audience. At the same time, Jiang Wanqing was stomping her feet while holding a newspaper. The headline, Genius Engineer Xiao Yan Solve a Dilemma, was scratched by her fingernails. That night, my mother called me. The mother's voice became more and more urgent on the phone. Xiao Xiao, Xiao Shui said she really knew she was wrong. You are a grown man, why bother with a girl? She has lost her appetite because of you and has lost a lot of weight. I pinched my brows and interrupted, Mom, my fate with her is over. After saying that, he hung up the phone, turned the phone to silent mode, and continued to work on the project at hand. Unexpectedly, 3 days later, my mother showed up directly in the office building of Wei Yuan Group. When the front desk informed me, I was stunned for a few seconds before I hurried downstairs. I saw her standing in the lobby with a thermos bucket. Her eyes were red when she saw me. You don't even listen to your mother. I reluctantly took her to the rest area and explained, Jiang Wanqing doesn't love me at all, she. The mother interrupted him by waving her hand. It's normal for young people to quarrel. What's wrong with you, a grown man, giving in a little? Besides, if Xiao Shui really didn't like you, why did she come here to ask me to help her ask for your forgiveness? Can't you give her a chance? She became more and more excited, even grabbing my sleeve. Call Xiao Shui right now to apologize. She cries every day, how can you live with your conscience? I took a deep breath and was about to retort when Gu Yutong suddenly pushed the door open and said, Xiao Yan, the technical department is having an emergency meeting. Party A requires us to connect within 10 minutes. The mother frowned at this and said, Work, work. All you do is work. I took the opportunity to stand up and said, Mom, let's talk about this another day. She wanted to stop me, but seeing my determined expression, she finally sighed and left temporarily. When I turned around, I caught a glimpse of my mother's back as she secretly wiped away her tears, and my heart felt sad. At 2 o'clock in the morning, the office area of Wei Yuan Group was still brightly lit. Gu Yutong came over with 2 cups of coffee and placed one in front of me. After working for 18 hours straight, Engineer Cheng needs a break. The aroma of coffee dispelled my fatigue. I took the cup and my fingertips accidentally touched her hand. Gu Yutong quickly withdrew her hand, her ears turned slightly red, but she pretended to be calm as she looked through the test report. I smiled and didn't expose her embarrassment. During this month, we have been working almost inseparable. From the initial unfamiliarity to the current tacit understanding, Gu Yutong has always been my most reliable partner. Her concentration and calmness are completely different from Jiang Wanqing's impetuousness. I'm going to the bathroom, and then we'll call it a day. Gu Yutong put down the report and left quickly. The office suddenly became quiet, with only the hum of the servers running. I stood up, stretched my stiff shoulders, and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Just as I was lost in thought, the elevator made a ding sound. Is anyone coming at this time? I turned around in confusion, only to see a familiar figure walking out of the elevator. Jiang Wanqing. She was wearing a simple white dress, her hair draped softly over her shoulders, and her makeup was so light that it was almost invisible. She was completely different from her previous heavily made-up look. When she saw me, her eyes lit up, but she quickly lowered her head and twisted her fingers nervously. Xiao Xiao. Her voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible. I stood still and interrupted her. How did you get in? The building requires an access card. I waited downstairs all day and sneaked in with the people who were working overtime. She bit her lip, her eyes reddened. I know you don't want to see me, but I have to come and apologize. I took a deep breath and suppressed the emotion surging in my heart. Jiang Wanqing, it's over between us. No. She suddenly rushed forward, but stopped 2 meters away from me, as if she was afraid of scaring me. Xiao Xiao, I know I was wrong. I haven't looked for Mr. He, no, that old man for a month. She took out a familiar hairband from her bag. Look, this is the birthday gift you gave me last year, and I have kept it. And this. She took out a worn-out bear pendant and said, I won it at the amusement park on our first date. My heart suddenly sank. I searched for that pendant for a long time, thinking she had thrown it away long ago. Jiang Wanqing keenly sensed my hesitation and took a step forward. Xiao Xiao, I swear I will not betray you. During this time, I realized that you are the only one who is truly good to me. That old man, he is just. Her voice choked with sobs, he just saw that I was young. Before I could answer, Gu Yutong came back with a professional smile. Sorry, did I disturb you? Jiang Wanqing's expression changed instantly. She straightened her back, and the fragility in her eyes was replaced by hostility. Are you Gu Yutong? Gu Yutong nodded politely, walked over to me, and calmly handed me a document. The test report needs your signature, and it needs to be given to the customer tomorrow morning. I took the document and felt Jiang Wanqing's burning gaze. She suddenly smiled, but that smile made my back cold. I see. Xiao Xiao, you have a new love so soon. No wonder you are so heartless to me. Jiang Wanqing. I interrupted her harshly, watch your words. Gu Yutong is my partner and friend. Friend. Jiang Wanqing sneered, pointing at the obviously oversized suit jacket on Gu Yutong, a friend who is alone in a room with you at 2 in the morning wearing your clothes. That's enough. I frowned. If you don't leave, I'll call security. Jiang Wanqing suddenly raised her head, looking a little ferocious. Xiao Yan. Do you think she really likes you? She just likes your skills. After she's used you. That's better than being treated as an ATM. I interrupted her calmly, Jiang Wanqing, let go. Keep some dignity for yourself. Her chest heaved violently, and she suddenly grabbed the coffee cup on the table and threw it at Gu Yutong. Bitch. It's all your fault. I subconsciously rushed over to stand in front of Gu Yutong, and the scalding coffee spilled on my shirt. Gu Yutong exclaimed and quickly took a tissue to help me wipe it. Jiang Wanqing was stunned, watching our intimate interaction. The anger in her eyes was gradually replaced by despair. Good, very good. Jiang Wanqing staggered back. Xiao Yan, you will regret this. You think she is better than me? Wait and see. She turned and rushed to the elevator. At the last moment when the door closed, I heard her hysterical shout, I will not give up. You will always be mine. Since that night when Jiang Wanqing left, I haven't seen her for a long time. I thought she would stop embarrassing herself. On this day, at the Wei Yuan Group's anniversary party, the crystal chandeliers reflected brilliant light and the crowds were toasting each other. I was toasting with investors. Suddenly, the door of the banquet hall was pushed open. Jiang Wanqing rushed in wearing a dazzling red dress, and the sound of her high heels stepping on the marble floor made the whole place suddenly quiet. She rushed to the center of the stage, snatched the microphone from the host, and cried with a trembling voice, Xiao Yan, I know you are here. The spotlight followed her gaze and fell on me. I frowned and put down my wine glass. Gu Yutong beside me subconsciously clenched her fists. I've regretted it every day for the past month. Jiang Wanqing's tears stained her heavy makeup. She held up a velvet box and said, Look, I've even prepared a ring. I didn't know how to cherish it at first, but now I'm willing to change anything. She staggered off the stage and knelt in front of me in front of everyone. Please marry me, okay? I swear to love only you in this life. The guests were in an uproar, some raised their mobile phones to record the scene, and some whispered. I took a half step back and calmly pulled back the sleeve she was holding. Jiang Wanqing, we are done. No, she suddenly screamed and overturned the champagne tower next to her. The sound of the glass breaking made the whole audience exclaim. The security guard rushed over to grab her, but she struggled to rip open her collar, revealing a new tattoo on her collarbone. That turned out to be my name. I have you engraved in my bones. How can you not want me? Her hysteria was out of place at the elegant cocktail party. Her lipstick was smudged across half of her face, making her look like a marionette out of control. The video of the cocktail party farce went viral on the internet. Wei Yuan group proposal scene. Jiang Wanqing goes crazy for love. Xiao Yan cheated during his relationship. One entry after another appeared on the hot search list. I turned off the push notifications on my phone, but rumors still seeped in through various cracks. I heard that Mr. Qing got tired of playing with her and dumped her. That woman even has his name tattooed on her collarbone. She's so infatuated. The discussions in the tea room stopped abruptly when I pushed the door open. Gu Yutong threw a stack of documents on the conference table, and the monitor reflected her tense jawline. The legal department has sent a lawyer's letter to the 5 accounts that spread the most rumors. I stared at the paused video on the computer screen. When Jiang Wanqing was carried away by security guards, her nails left 4 hideous scratches on the red carpet. This woman, whom I once loved with all my heart, is now like a lost dog. The shift in online public opinion occurred on the morning of the 4th day. Mrs. Du brought people to block Jiang Wanqing's apartment. A passerby filmed Jiang Wanqing being slapped in public in the community garden. The video of Mrs. Du grabbing her hair and yelling, "The mistress should die," received millions of likes. Netizens dug up her chat records with multiple corporate executives at the same time, and those explicit texts were exactly the same as the love messages she had sent to me. But soon I received strange text messages again. "Xiao Xiao, what's online is not true. I only love you and I have never done anything to betray you." I thought it was ridiculous and deleted the text message. The news from my mother came suddenly. On the other end of the phone, her voice was filled with obvious guilt. "Xiao Xiao, Mom heard about what happened online. It's Mom's fault for forcing you." I held the phone, feeling a pang of sadness in my heart. "Mom, I don't blame you." The mother was silent for a moment, then sighed and said, "You have been sensible since you were young. It's just that I was too anxious. I am downstairs in your company now. Can I see you?" 10 minutes later, I met my mother in the lobby. She was wearing a plain coat, holding a cooler bag in her hand, and her eyes were full of apology. I quickly stepped forward and took the bag, and inside was my favorite osmanthus cake. Whenever I felt wronged as a child, she would do this to comfort me. "You did this on purpose." My nose felt sore. The mother rubbed her eyes and was about to speak when Gu Yutong's voice suddenly came from behind her. "Xiao Yan, this document requires." When she approached and saw her mother, she was stunned for a moment, then she smiled brightly. "Hello, Auntie. I am Gu Yutong, Xiao Yan's colleague." The mother's gaze stayed on Gu Yutong for a few seconds. Gu Yutong was wearing a light-colored shirt and a suit skirt today, with her hair neatly tied into a ponytail. Her eyes sparkled when she spoke, and her tone was much softer than usual. "You are Gu Yutong." The mother suddenly laughed and held her hand. "Xiao Xiao often mentioned you and said that you two worked very well together." "When did I say that?" Gu Yutong's ears turned red. She glanced at me secretly and said to her mother, "Auntie, have you eaten? I know there is a good Cantonese restaurant nearby." Mother waved her hands, looked between us, and suddenly stuffed the thermal bag to Gu Yutong. "You young people are busy, so I won't bother you. Share this sweet-scented osmanthus cake between the two of you. Gu Yutong, please take care of Xiao Xiao." After saying that, she winked at me and turned away. Gu Yutong and I stood there, holding osmanthus cakes in our hands, and the atmosphere became subtly quiet. Gu Yutong stared down at the bag, her eyelashes trembling slightly. "Auntie is so nice." "Yeah." I looked at her red ears and said inexplicably, "Are you free tonight? There's a new sci-fi movie, and I heard the special effects are pretty good." Gu Yutong raised her head suddenly, her eyes shining like stars. "Yes." After saying that, he realized that he answered too quickly, coughed lightly, and added, "I mean, the work just came to an end." When my mother turned around, she saw us smiling at each other. The relationship between Gu Yutong and I became more and more ambiguous, while Jiang Wanqing's life became more and more difficult. Ever since the last farce, the attitude of the company's top management towards her has taken a sharp turn for the worse. The important projects she was once in charge of were temporarily replaced, and her speeches at meetings were frequently interrupted. She sat at her workstation, feeling a chill in her heart as she watched her colleagues deliberately avoid her gaze. What was even more difficult for her to accept was that she often saw me and Gu Yutong side by side on the internet. Gu Yutong was wearing a smart suit, holding documents in his hands, with a faint smile on his lips. I lowered my head slightly, listened carefully, and occasionally nodded in response. The atmosphere between the two was tacit and natural, as if they had already gotten used to each other's presence. Jiang Wanqing looked at her phone, her nails digging deeply into her palms. Once upon a time, in such a scene, the person standing next to me should have been her. She finally gave up her job, came to my city, and appeared in my sight frequently. Every morning, there would be an exquisite breakfast on my desk. Sometimes it was hot soy milk and fried dough sticks, sometimes it was a sandwich she made herself. There was also a handwritten note next to it, "Xiao Xiao, remember to eat breakfast." I handed the breakfast to a colleague passing by with an expressionless face, without even looking at it. Jiang Wanqing hid in the corner with red eyes. She remembered that one time, she suddenly wanted to eat the famous bread rolls from the east side of the city in the middle of the night, and I rushed out without saying a word. As a result, because he was running too fast, he was knocked down by an electric bike at the intersection, and his knee was scraped. But when I endured the pain and handed the bread to her, she frowned in disdain. Why did it take so long? The bread is cold. Now, she finally got a taste of being ignored. Her best friend advised her, men all want to save face. If you hold on a little longer, he will definitely soften his heart. When he was pursuing you, didn't he hold on for 2 whole years? Jiang Wanqing bit her lip and her eyes gradually became firm. Yes, I can't give up. She clenched her fists. He loved me so much, he will definitely come back to me. So, she began to pursue me more and more vigorously. The same breakfast every day, the coffee I accidentally drank during lunch break, the conversations I happened to have on the same way as I was on my way home from get off work. And I remain indifferent. Until one night, she was drunk, stumbled in front of me, and cried and grabbed my sleeve. "Xiao Xiao, I really know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance, okay?" I calmly pulled my hand back and said, "Jiang Wanqing, don't embarrass yourself." Jiang Wanqing's messages and calls continued to bombard my phone. She started trying to win me back in various ways. She sent a short essay to apologize in the early morning, waited for me downstairs of my company, and even asked a mutual friend to tell me that she knew she was wrong and was willing to change. But I don't want to hear any more explanations. Until late that night, her best friend suddenly called me, with obvious panic in her voice. "Xiao Yan, come to the hospital quickly. Wanqing drank too much and had stomach bleeding, and now she is in emergency treatment. She said she wanted to see you for the last time." I held the phone in silence for a few seconds. Gu Yutong was sitting next to me, sorting out project materials. She looked up at me and asked softly, "What's wrong?" I hung up the phone and threw it on the table. "Jiang Wanqing is in the hospital for gastric bleeding. Her best friend said she wants to see me." Gu Yutong's fingers paused for a moment, but she quickly continued to flip through the documents, her tone calm. "Are you going?" I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. All the memories of my time with Jiang Wanqing flashed through my mind. When she was sick, I took care of her all night long. When she lost her temper, I coaxed her humbly. Whatever she wanted, I would do my best to satisfy her. But what he got in the end was her betrayal and the deserved hurt. I opened my eyes, picked up my phone, and opened Jiang Wanqing's WeChat dialogue box. Her last message was, "Xiao Xiao, I really know I was wrong. Can you give me a chance?" I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then swiped my finger and clicked, "Delete contact." No. I put down my phone and looked at Gu Yutong. Let the past be the past. The corners of Gu Yutong's mouth curled up slightly, but soon returned to calm. She closed the folder and stood up. "So, shall we continue working?" I nodded and returned my gaze to the computer screen. The night is dark outside the window, but the city lights are still bright. Some people and some things are not worth looking back on after all. A year later, Gu Yutong and I got married. The wedding scene was covered with pure white roses, and the sunlight shone through the glass dome, making the entire hall warm and holy. Gu Yutong, wearing a simple and elegant wedding dress, took my hand and slowly walked towards the swearing-in platform amid the blessings of our relatives and friends. Her fingertips trembled slightly, but when she smiled at me, her eyes were filled with determination and happiness. And in the corner of the last row of the auditorium, Jiang Wanqing stood quietly. She wore large sunglasses, her lips were bitten white, and her fingers were tightly gripping the back of the seat. Through the gaps in the crowd, she watched me put the ring on Gu Yutong's finger, watched us exchange vows, and watched the tenderness that once belonged only to her, now given to another person without reservation. Memories came flooding back. She remembered that I had run across half the city in a rainstorm just to bring her a bowl of hot ginger soup. She remembered that she casually mentioned that she liked cherry blossoms, so I planted a row of cherry blossom pots on the balcony. She remembered that every time she acted unreasonably, I would still whisper, "It's okay." And now, the man who once held her in his hands is bending down to kiss the bride's forehead, and there is no trace of her in his eyes anymore. A tear fell on the edge of her sunglasses. She turned around and left in a hurry, but staggered at the door. No one noticed her embarrassment. Just like I was once never truly seen by her. Many years later, on a rainy evening, I was sitting in my car waiting for a red light when I suddenly saw a woman riding an electric bike fall into the water on the side of the road. She struggled to get up, but it seemed extremely difficult. Out of habit, I got out of the car to help her. When I helped her up, she looked up at me, her eyes changing from confusion to shock, and finally to an indescribable complexity. "Xiao Xiao." Her voice was unusually hoarse. Only then did I recognize her. Jiang Wanqing. Although she is less than 30 years old, her face is full of vicissitudes. The wrinkles at the corners of her eyes are much deeper than those of her peers. Her hair is dry and yellow, and her clothes are washed white. I was stunned for a moment, but soon calmed down. "Be careful." After saying that, I turned around and went back to the car. Gu Yutong was sitting in the passenger seat and glanced at me, an acquaintance. I nodded and started the car. "Yeah, an old friend." In the rearview mirror, Jiang Wanqing was still standing there, staring blankly in the direction we left. The rain was hitting her, but she seemed not to feel the cold. Gu Yutong didn't ask any more questions, but just held my hand gently. The car drove into the rain, leaving the past completely behind. Late at night, the phone screen suddenly lights up. A message from an unfamiliar number came into view. "Xiao Xiao, I'm married. He has no ability and can't even pay the mortgage. I wonder every day, if I hadn't betrayed you, would I be the one standing by your side now?" I took a quick glance, paused with my finger above the screen for 2 seconds, and then pressed the delete key decisively. When he looked up, he met Gu Yutong's inquiring gaze. "What's wrong?" She picked up a piece of vegetable with chopsticks and put it into my bowl. "Nothing, just spam." I smiled and wiped the rice grains from the corner of my daughter's mouth. Under the warm yellow light, my daughter was dancing and talking about interesting things that happened in kindergarten. Gu Yutong echoed her gently and smiled at me from time to time. It was dark outside the window, but warm as spring inside the house.